everybody, welcome back to the channel. For everybody new here, this is Too Random. I'm James, Sarah's behind the camera. Today I'm going to show you how to go from this to this. Alright everybody, today I'm going to be showing you how to do it at home, build your own paver patio. It is absolutely as hard as everybody says. This is not a project to be taken on by just anybody. These things are finicky and they can be a real pain in the butt. And if you don't do it right in the end, you're gonna have a real mess. But if you watch my video and follow these instructions, you too will be able to make an amazing patio. So join us, I'm gonna show you how it's done. Got us a little pack of grade stakes here. This will be step one and very important step. Looking at the stake, the top of your stake is going to be the top of your paver. That's where you're going to measure from. We have 2-inch pavers, we have 2 inches of sand, and then 6 inches of paver base. Now this is a hotly debated topic. I've heard people say 3 is enough, oh 4 is plenty. Especially here in New York, where it gets very cold and the ground freezes. It's gonna swell, it's gonna move. 6 inches of base is standard. 6 inches is what we're using. We're gonna use 6 inches of compacted limestone. That's what our base is gonna be made out of. 2 inches for the brick, 2 inches for the leveling sand, 6 inches for the base, 10 inches total. Take your stick, take your measuring tape, top of the tape. These sticks are just barely long enough.
Sorry.
Thanks to the person I sent to the store to get them for me.
You blame Home Depot.
Thank you, Home Depot. Anyways, so on this stick, you're gonna measure down from the top, 2 inches. That's going to be your mark for your paver. You're going to go down 2 inches from there. That's going to be the mark for your sand. You're going to go down 6 inches from there. That's going to be the bottom of your base. This will give you an excellent idea without any fancy laser levels or things like that are super expensive that the normal everyday guy sitting around the house doesn't probably have. Guys, these are all the same size, they're all the same stick. You should be able to use these to mark the next guy beside it. 2 inches for your base, 2 inches for your sand, 6 inches for your gravel. All your sticks need to be marked this way, as many as you're going to use. There's no set number of stakes you have to put in the ground. It's all about making it easier for you. So that's kind of what it's going to look like. You're going to stick this in the ground. Remember, the top of the thing is going to be the top of your paver. As I said, top of the stick will be top of the paver. 2 inches down for your paver, 2 inches for your sand, 6 inches for your base. That's a great stake, correctly marked. That's the second one, correctly marked. What we do with these now, you take it here to the edge of your project. Your trusty mallet. we're going to take this stake. We're going to put it in the ground. Take a second stake. Come over here. I could really use a level. We're going to take a stake. The flagpole is obviously not going anywhere. So that's going to be our set point. We're going to get a level right where we want it, part of that stand, and we're going to run a string from that one to this one right here, and we're going to drop a level on it. We're going to run a stake corner to corner to corner to middles. We're going to level them right to the middle of this thing. Once they're all level, then we can start filling. That'll be our next step. As you can see right here, we are placing the stakes, and then we're running strings from our center point, the flagpole that we know where we want the top of our paver to go to. So we're just running level strings from those pavers out to the different stakes. We put stakes in the corners and the middles, and we're basically just running a level from the middle to the top of each stake to make sure we are level from the outside to the inside. Now you want your patio to have a slight grade away from the middle so you don't have water pooling onto the patio. So you want it to have a slight grade to allow for the water to run off. But you're basically at this point just looking to try to make everything as level as possible on these stakes. You're going to move on to the stone. This is a big old pile, and we're doing it the old-fashioned way. We're going to take it back to this thing a wheelbarrow at a time, and we're just trying to load up. We're going to try and load 2 inches, and then we're going to run our plate compactor, and then we're going to add another 2 inches. We're going to compact it again, and then finally our last 2 inches for a 6-inch total base, and we're going to run the compactor on it one more time to make sure that it is completely compacted. This is something you can buy a plate compactor, you can buy a hand tamper and try to do this by hand. As you'll see later in the video, it ain't no fun. I would highly suggest anybody trying to do a patio, especially something of this size, to go rent a plate compactor. You can get it from your local tool rental place, and it will make your life much, much better. And this is where it all goes wrong.
The boss man says this morning, he says, hey, you think maybe you could go one day without fucking up? I said, absolutely, boss man. I said, let's start that tomorrow though, because I'm not sure that today's fuck up's already been penciled in.
Alright guys, so after the rains came and I fixed that problem, I went ahead and added a little more crushed limestone to the base and went ahead and tamped it back down just to make sure everything was still nice and tight and we had a good solid base, which it was. The rain wasn't really that big a deal, but it just sucked having to drain it off. Anyways, so now we're just going to measure it out. We got the size of the patio already picked out and marked out. We got our stone down. We're just tamping around. As you're tamping there on the top, you spray a little water on it and tamp it. You don't want to waterlog the stuff, obviously. Spray a little water. We'll do a couple of things. Keep the dust down, and it'll also get you a nice, tight, compacted base there, and you'll have a really good area to work on. Just for reference, what you're seeing on that stone is a hand tamper. Anyone who's ever used a hand tamper will tell you they never want to see a hand tamper again. Like I suggested earlier in the video, for a patio this size, you definitely want to rent a plate compactor from your local tool rental place. It will make life a lot easier. Hand tamping is back-breaking work. Anyways, back to it. All right, everybody, what I got here is 2 screed poles. These are 5-inch, it's just metal conduit. These are 2-inch poles, so it's perfect for screeding 2 inches of sand. I'm gonna lay the poles down, dump my sand on it, and then use my 2x4 to just slowly pull and level out this sand on top of my base. As you can see, when you get to the end and you run out of pole, you just slide it on down, dump you some more sand, and keep pulling it through. This is a pretty easy process. You will repeat this, going back over, filling in the hole. You'll repeat this process until you get to an area big enough to start laying your bricks. I'm going to start out laying the outside border of the patio. What we're going to do here when we get the bricks laid down is we're going to run a string from the top of our corner stake to the top of the other corner stake. That way we have this line here. Instead of having to run a level and try to keep it level in your mind and keep going back and forth, if you run off this line, then you know your bricks are going to be pretty much straight. Absolute perfection is a hard thing to obtain. You just want them to be close at this stage, because in the end, you have 2 inches of sand underneath them, and they do have a little wiggle room for movement. So if you're a little high, a little low, you can give them a little tamp on top, and they will straighten out for you a little bit. So you run that string just as a good indicator that you're level and where you need to be. The next step here, laying the blocks. The pavers, it's pretty straightforward. I'm doing a running bond, which basically means I'm just offsetting the water lines on the pavers, full brick, half a brick, full brick, half a brick. It's probably the most basic pattern, but it comes out nice in the end, and there's nothing wrong with that. The pavers are fairly easy to lay, as you can see. If you like hard physical labor, if you like carrying huge stones around, this is a perfect job. But it's also very, very rewarding. We're just going to start laying the pavers in kind of a what would you call that, like a stair step pattern, kind of run along, and as we cover it, I'm just laying my pipes down and screeding more sand out, keeping it all as level as I can, and I'm just running through, covering the ground, covering your area. Once you're done with laying your pavers, you are going to move on to hammering your paver edging around the edge of your bricks. This edging comes a lot of different ways. I think all this stuff came from Home Depot. This edging is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it, and it'll do the job. Works just fine. You're going to want to put a spike in. I think it's every 12 to 16 inches. That might vary a little on what people say you should do. I would say err on the side of caution and just put more, because you can always just put more. That's all I can say. Put more stakes and less stakes. Once you get your stakes in and your paver edging is locked in, then it's time to lock in your pavers. We are using a tan polymeric sand here. Polymeric sand is just like any other sand. The only difference is they've added silica. Silica is the ingredient they put in concrete to make it all stick together. So this sand is not quite like concrete, but it will give you a good solid firm finish when you're done with it. And I'm going to take this broom and I'm going to lightly brush back and forth, slowly across the edges. I'm trying not to lose too much sand over the edges, because polymeric sand is not cheap and you don't want to just throw it off to the side. So you're just working this in. All you're doing here is working this sand into the cracks of the bricks. You go back and forth, horizontal, vertical, diagonal, go every direction atop all the bricks until all the joints are filled. You're going to push back and forth, make sure all your joints are tight and filled to the very top. when you're brushing this around and you get your joints filled, you don't want to be digging in with your bristles and brushing sand out of the joints. You just want to make a nice, light, smooth whisk over and keep pushing the sand around until all your joints are filled. I want to go back. I'm going to give it a light tamp on top of these stones to make sure you set all the sand down in the joints. You're going to check it again to make sure, you know, there's no holes in your cracks, or, you know, a lot of times you'll just see little pinholes, but there won't be no sand in that joint. So you got to make sure you get your sand in good, give it a little tap on it to make sure the sand settled down in there. And when you're done, you want to wash your bricks off. This white soapy looking residue is the, you know, chemicals from your sand coming out. You don't want to leave, you want to wash this off as best you can. If you leave a lot of this residue on the patio, it will kind of leave a little bit of a haze on top of it. So you want to try to make sure you wash this off. You're not power washing. You're not spraying deep into the cracks. You want your sand to stay in the cracks. You're just giving it a light wash over the top to clean the bricks off. You're going to do this once and then let it dry. Let it dry for a couple hours even. You're going to come back and spray it off again. You're going to do the same thing multiple times. 3 or 4 different times you want to spray off this patio. Make sure you're spraying off all of the white film that comes up as you're spraying it. You just want to do this a few times. The better you clean the bricks, the better your end result is going to be. Alright guys, we're going to use a sealer on this brick. A lot of times when you put the rocks down, you know, after they dry off, they get kind of hazy. They're definitely not as pretty as they can be. We use this sealer. It kind of leaves a wet look behind and really brings out the color of your bricks. So we add this luster. You're just going to put it in a regular paint sprayer. This is a regular chemical sprayer. It works just fine. And you're going to spray a coating on your bricks. You're going to let it dry and then come back and spray a second coating and let that one dry. And what you end up with is a beautiful patio. Okay, so this is what we've been waiting for, the big reveal. This is also a pathway that we put in. We obviously didn't get any footage of us doing it, but this was just a field, what is it, flagstone walkway that we put in to get to the patio, and there it is. Finished, a beautiful patio. Now all we did at the end was I took some regular topsoil and I went ahead and filled in all around the patio, everywhere I dug out and moved in, so it's a nice level ground now. Around that patio you could plant, you know, put in mulch beds, anything you want to do, but take a look at that. Everybody, this was the result of about 1 week, about a solid week's worth of hard work. But I have to be honest, it came out amazing, and it gives this family just an amazing place to hang out. And they're going to put some chairs out here, and it's just a great place to be able to go out and hang out. You don't have to worry about anything out here. That's a beautiful patio. But as you can see, if you just take your time and follow the steps that I just showed you, you can build your own patio at home. It is easier and harder than you think. But I hope this video gave you a little insight. I hope you like my patio, and if you have any questions or, you know, want a little help building your own patio, go ahead and leave me a message in the comments. We love to talk to you guys. Thank you guys for watching the video. We appreciate it. I hope you learned something, and until next time, to random out.